Graveliz,
Here.
Mrs. Rizzo,
Here.
Mr. Sinella,
Here.
Ms. Ty,
Here.
Mr. Visconti, here, Mayor Arrigo.
Here. We'll begin tonight's meeting with the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have several items on the superintendent's report tonight. I'm, I think, most excited about the first one. We have some of our students from the Lincoln School and the Garfield Elementary School who are here with us tonight. And their principals shared with me the PowerPoint presentation that they put together themselves. It's very informative. And what they're going to do tonight is share with us information about a new program we have at the elementary schools called ST Math. And I won't tell you any more about it because we have Isaac, Fiona, Justin, and David who are going to hear and tell us, are going to tell us all about the program. And then they're going to give us a demonstration of how the program works. So we're going to start with Isaac and Fiona, and after that we'll have Justin and David come up in just a minute, okay?
Hello, my name is Fiona, and we are third graders in Miss Perazzo's class in the Abraham Lincoln School.
Hello, my name is Isaac, and we're going to learn about ST Math. What is ST Math? ST Math is a computer program that we use in school to help us practice and learn math. We play games and try to beat levels by helping Gigi cross the path. The games are all about the things we have learned in class for math and the topics we are graded on. ST Math has no written directions and is all about learning to do the math by taking risks.
How ST Math helps us in class. ST Math allows us to play games where we practice all the math we have learned in class, so when something is hard, the more we play, the better we get at it. For example, I had a hard time with subtracting and regrouping on ST Math. I was able to keep playing a level where I had to regroup flower petals, and it finally clicked for me and I got 100 on my test. We can also use ST Math at home to help us practice our math. When something is hard for me in class, I use ST Math at home to get better. I use ST Math at home to show my parents what I am learning and how to do it.
What we love about ST Math. ST Math teaches us new ways to do things we have learned. It is fun to play. We like to try to get more puzzles.
When you are struggling, you can get better and better at it because it lets you practice the same thing until you get good at it, even if the class is on a new topic. It is fun to be challenged and get to another level.
Does anybody have any questions?
So we're going to ask questions in just a couple of minutes. I think you guys are going to show us a demonstration of ST Math, and then we're going to hear from our friends at the Garfield School, and then we'll take questions after that. Is that okay? Great.
appropriation, and I'm going to show you how to. So, this is the beginning. When you go on something new, you will be on level 1. So I'm just gonna do some problems. So if you get it wrong, you will start all over again. And right down here, this is the lives you have. So I have 1 life right now. Give up. So I got everything right, and now it's gonna move me to the 2nd level.
Is Isaac going to show us too, or?
I know.
We had a discussion with the school committee a little while ago about how difficult it is to use a website. I know.
And when you're done and when you're about to log out, sometimes your teacher will come around and see how many puzzles you got. This time Fiona got 6 puzzles.
Wow, good job.
4 minutes.
Okay.
I'm on addition and subtracting with regrouping and flower petals. And I'm on the intro to borrowing. 1 plus 3 is 4 flower petals. Wait, oh, I forgot it was minus 1 minus 3. You have to take 1 from there. Now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 minus 3 equals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 flower petals.
Nice job.
And 9 minus 4 flower petals is 5 flower petals. Three minus 1 is 2.
So Isaac, how do you figure out how to do all these things if there are no instructions?
There are no instructions because we do adding and subtraction, and I can see the minus, and that's how I know. That's how I know what I'm doing.
Cool. Yeah.
It's 3 9 minus 2. 8. 9 minus 2 equals 7. 3 minus 2 is 1.
And what happens if you get one of them wrong?
If you get all your lives wrong, then you have to restart that whole level again.
Oh my goodness.
And on the percent, which is right here, once you get an 83, that it tells me that I only need 1 more to go.
Oh wow.
So 0 minus 3. 10 minus 3 equals 7. Oh, I accidentally clicked on 8. I lost all my lives, so I got a 33.
I think you did that on purpose to show us what would happen, right?
No, I actually didn't. I accidentally clicked on that.
Okay, well, thank you very much. We're going to have Justin and David now are going to come up and talk to us about their experience with ST Math and what they think of it.
I got 2 puzzles in 4 minutes.
Good job.
I just have to log out.
That was wonderful. Yeah, I think the sister wanted to say something. I think she wanted to tell something.
She doesn't know this kind of stuff.
Are you going to teach her?
That's why she has a brother.
Okay, and so now we have Justin and David from the Garfield Elementary School who are going to tell us about their experience with ST Math.
Hi, I am Justin Cavalcanti, and I'm going to teach you a little bit about ST Math. Good evening. My name is David Casal-Rohr. I'm in 5th grade and I'm from the Garfield Elementary School, and I will teach you a little bit more about ST Math. What we like about ST Math. ST Math allows us to keep trying until we know how to do it. When we take tests, it is on the computer instead of on paper. ST Math makes the information interactive. As I know, kids our age like to play video games, and ST Math is a point-and-click video game and is appealing to children. ST Math allows you to see your accomplishments, and this encourages kids to do more and to do better. ST Math does not have a time limit, and so kids can take as much time as they need to learn more carefully. How is ST Math different than other ways of learning? ST Math doesn't allow you to skip levels. Each student has to pass to move on to the next level. ST Math has a tutorial for some of the lessons. When you begin a new topic, it shows you how to navigate the screen and demonstrates what to do. ST Math allows you to control the character on the screen to allow you to move it to the other side. ST Math uses animation to demonstrate the math concepts. Is ST Math and the technology easy or difficult for you to use? In my opinion, I think that ST Math is simple to use. In my class, we use Chromebooks in class every day. ST Math is easy for me to use because all I have to do is move my cursor and click on the answers.
Very nice. So in addition to these awesome students, we also have Mrs. West is here who uses this in her classroom, and Principal Humus is here who can speak to the program, and the director of STEM director, Matt Costa, is also here, and it's actually Mr. Costa who brought this program to the district. So if any of the committee members have questions of the students or the adults, they'd be happy to answer them for you now.
Mrs. Rizzo?
I just want to know if an old lady like me can figure out the regrouping of the petals. Is it that easy?
Yes.
Are you sure? I'm coming by to check it out. No, were you Italian? That's a mess? Okay.
Any other members?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Sinella?
through you to the superintendent, is this a lease agreement on the usage of the program, or how does that work out?
Mr. Costa can actually answer that. Sure.
So we were very fortunate last year. Mass STEM Hub provided a grant opportunity for districts in Massachusetts and schools in Massachusetts to access ST Math. ST Math, as you can tell, is a well-designed program, and as such, it's very expensive. So Mass STEM Hub is a group in Massachusetts that identifies really high-quality resources for schools. They also identified Project Lead the Way, which is in place in some of our schools. And they issued 27 grants across the state, and all 6 of our elementary schools received those grants. So it's a testament to our elementary schools, their building-based administrators, and their math coaches who really did a lot of work to get those grants. So we actually have ST Math in the district for as long as we want to keep it.
And I'll add that we're the only district in the state that got a system-wide grants approved for every elementary. And that was Mr. Costa's leadership, together with the principals, in writing those grants, so good job.
Any other members? Ms. Ty?
I'd just like to say that the best part of sitting up here in the school committee is listening to folks out there, from the professionals at the top all the way down, and watching what great things are happening in every Bear Public Schools. We are the buds, the best urban district, I think, in the nation. And you kids certainly stand up to prove it all the time. Thank you.
Any other members? Dr. Kelly?
I just want to thank the students for their wonderful presentation. Sometimes it's hard for us older people to understand how to use all of these things that you use on the computer. And so we're thankful for you showing us how to do those, and we encourage you to continue to use them at home and help those little brothers and sisters who maybe haven't used it yet to get an upper edge by practicing too. So thank you very much. And thank you to Mr. Costa for his leadership in bringing the program, and Principal Humus and the teachers who have embraced this and helped the kids, both in school and at home.
Great job, everyone. Great job. We're going to take a 2-minute recess. We are back from recess, and we are on the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the next item on the superintendent's report is actually a presentation that Dr. Garcia is going to give to the committee on our accountability and MCAS data. As I think most of you know, we've been talking about this for a while. There have been a number of changes to the state accountability system. And so I'm very pleased to have Dr. Garcia on board and able to give us a rundown of what those changes are, and then he'll be sharing strengths and weaknesses in our MCAS achievement throughout the district. So, Dr. Garcia?
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Today we're going to talk about the accountability, the new accountability system, and also about the results we got this past year. So the purpose of this presentation today is to update all members of the school committee and the residents of Revere about the new accountability system and its impact on our students. Also, I will also summarize the results of the accountability for the 2017-2018 school year. But before we delve into those things, the first thing I would like to do is remind everyone what's the purpose of an accountability system. An accountability system, the purpose is basically to measure school and district performance. That's the first thing, one of the things that the accountability systems intends to do. The second one is to help schools improve and the performance of all students. And the third is to help communities and the state decide how to allocate resources. So imagine if you have a school district that you just teach and then there's no accountability in the end. So the state, the district wants to make sure that, you know, whatever teachers are doing in the classroom are paying off. See the results so that we can continue to adjust our teaching and practice and also continue to uncover areas in which we can improve. So any accountability system intends to answer two fundamental questions. One is how the school district is doing, or a school, and the second one is what kind of support does the school district need. Based on that, the state is going to see the type of support that we need, the intervention that we need, the money that will be allocated, and so on and so forth. So the next slide talks about the new accountability system. I must say that I'm very pleased with the new accountability system. It's very progressive. It adds new indicators, special for high school and also for elementary and middle school. So those indicators focus on performance and student opportunities beyond the test. We've been talking about, about not testing kids so much, but also taking into account other things that kids do. And we're going to talk about those things in a minute. Testing to the test, or just putting tests out there, ask kids to perform, that's not a good way of teaching. So there are other things that kids are doing, and we know that in our districts, we do a lot of those things. I call those things invisible learning because sometimes people don't know, and they need to be said. It also focuses on those kids who have been traditionally marginalized in our schools. Not just, in our district, but also historically, those kids have been marginalized throughout many urban schools and throughout many schools in our country. We're talking about the lowest performing kids. It also discontinues a practice that has been here for quite some time, categorizing or labeling schools from 1 to 5, where you got level 1, level 2, 3, 4, and 5. When we talk about level 4 and 5, we're talking about turnaround schools that really are not performing, and it puts a lot of pressure on principals and teachers as well. So part of the new accountability system for high school, there are 11 indicators. And on this slide, you see those indicators. You have a focus on two things. One is focus on all students. It also focuses on the lowest performing students. And there are certainly those indicators. ELA, skill score, math skill score, science, ALA, SGP, math SGP, and so on and so forth. But the next slide actually is going to talk about the weighing of indicators for elementary and middle schools. As you can tell, you have the indicators on the left column: achievement, student growth, English language proficiency. I must clarify that. That's basically not ELA, but it's access, a test that all English language learners are required to take. And you have additional indicators: chronic absenteeism. That's only for elementary and middle school levels. And we have additional indicators for high school. The high school has been benchmarked against the same indicators, but there are other indicators that have been added to high school. For example, the chronic absenteeism has always been here, but the Department of Education is putting a lot of emphasis on it, because if kids are not in school, they are not going to be able to learn. And we have other indicators, like, for example, the percentage of students completing advanced coursework. That means AP courses, dual enrollment. Those are courses that are considered advanced coursework. Next. So the new accountability indicators, a lot of emphasis has been put on chronic absenteeism and advanced course completion. So it's based on points and also on the progress that we are making towards the targets. So there are 4 categories: decline, no change; improved, met target; exceeded target. 0 for decline, 1 for no change, 2 for improved, 3 for met target, meeting target, and 4 for exceeding target. Points are assigned on progress towards targets, as I said, for each indicator, for both aggregate and the lowest performing students. Aggregate means that for all students. And for the lowest performing students, those are the 20% kids who fit the category of the lowest performing kids. In other words, they are the 20 percentile, the ones that, they are at the bottom, let's put it that way. They performance are very low. So those kids, the DEC is putting a lot of emphasis and actually asking school districts to really pay a close attention to those kids, because those can be any kids. They can be English language learners, it can be high need students defined as kids who are considered, very low academically, and also are part of they are kids who qualify for free and reduced lunch. They are kids who really need a lot of attention on the part of school districts. And there are 2, targets, let's put it that way. So the report, when they categorize school districts and schools in general, either you meet your targets, you're partially meeting your targets, or basically you're not meeting your targets, which equals basically you got decline. Our district, we are partially meeting targets. In other words, it goes by range, 0 to 50%. Those are schools who are partially meeting targets. Schools who are really meeting targets are schools that falls within the range 75% to 100%. I have some good news to share with you in terms of highlights for the district. Although our districts has been categorized as partially meeting targets, we are not required, it's been basically not requiring assistance or intervention. That's a great news, because there are schools that when a school is considered requiring assistance and intervention, that's a problem, because you will see the Department of Education assigning a lot of intervention in that school. Probably they can send specialists here working with the school districts, which is not a bad thing. But, I think given what we have shown over the years and the quality of our teachers, the quality of our administrators, I think we can turn these around. We we can certainly move our school district forward, our school individual schools forward. And the principals and teachers, they are working very hard towards that goal. I am pleased to announce that we got 2 schools in our district, Paul Revere and Beachmont. They met or exceeded their target. Actually, they were very close to be nominated a school of recognition. Our English language learners and former English language learner students, they are meeting their target in most of our schools, which is great because those are students who sometimes they have a lot of challenges. The language itself is another challenge, the academic language. Be able to really not just develop the academic language, but also develop the social language so that they can really understand the curriculum, understand what teachers are teaching, and do the rigorous work as well. So they're actually meeting their targets in most schools. I was very surprised because these are kids who traditionally they have a lot of issues in terms of learning, in terms of language acquisition, and in terms of academic progress. English language learners met a target proficient towards proficiency target across the district. That's the access test. They also did very well on that category. And several subgroups, including the lowest performing Hispanic, Latino, and high needs students, they also met their targets or improved below target. One of the things that we discussed with the Department of Education is that if you see a school district that you have a lot of, improvement below the target, you should congratulate our teachers and our students because it's still progress. It's just at below the target, a little bit below the target. So they're still making progress. And we know the challenge that we have with a lot of our kids. All subgroups met or exceeded the annual dropout rate. Our annual dropout rate at high school is very good. And we are making progress, significant progress towards our graduation, rate as well. So it's below target, but when you go to the numbers, you can see that a lot of our subgroups are making it. So high school results. If you see on the same page, you will see we are comparing the 2018 versus 2017 results. You can see that in ELA, we had improvement where it was quite significant. It went from 34 to 41. In math, about the same. In science, about the same. You can also read across and see the proficient kids who perform proficient. In math, in English, it was a little bit below compared to last year. But if you see the SGP, the student growth percentile, we went a little bit, our results was a little bit better. I wish it was a little bit better, but we still went up. And for math, if you compare, we went up 2 points. It's quite significant. We can always do better, but it's been positive. So on page 6, you will see the results by, you'll see the results. I must, inform you that where you see the solid green, that's the area that we did very well. It's been color-coded to facilitate the understanding of people who are watching this presentation today. And the light green is we still made some improvement. It's below the target. We improved below the target. And where you see yellow, you will see that we took a dip, we declined. So ELA grades 3 to 8, you will see that, for all across grade levels, and ethnicities and race and ethnicity in groups, all subgroups, you can clearly see that, there's no decline. We did very well there. For ELA grade 10, you will see there are 12 subgroups here, obviously, for all, including for ELA, for elementary, middle, and high school. We got declined for our lowest performing students at the high school. The legacy year was 2017, and the achievement for 2018 was 92, just below it, -2, and the target was 93.7. So we got declined there was no change there, let's put it that way. For the lowest performing students, obviously we got decline there. 87, that was the legacy year, 2017. 2018, we got 82.2. There was a, we took a, well, there was a regression there. So, and then, obviously, for our high need students, we improved below the target. And for, the economically disadvantaged students, there's no change. For ELA and former ELA, as I mentioned, we exceeded the target. And then you have students with disability. That's an area that we need to focus on. We got decline there. And our Asian kids always do well. They exceeded the target. And then for Hispanic Latino, as you can tell, we also met the target. And, we got decline for white. There's a lot of speculation and a lot of theories why the white subgroup is going down. We can speculate. We can look into, actually this conversation already began with many of our principals and directors. Then math, grades 3 to 8. You can see the same thing. Remember that 0 is decline, 1 is no change, 2, below the target, 3 is met, and 4 is exceeded the target. So you can see the numbers there, the points there. So you can take a look at it. So you can clearly see that we got a lot of, we got some work to do here, especially with all students and some of our subgroups, the economic disadvantage and ELA, English language learners and former English language learners, and also with our Hispanic population. That's for grade 3 to 8. For math, grade 10, you can see the same thing. Look at the solid green for those subgroups, our ELL and students with disability. They met their target, the Asian kids, and you can see the light green. We still made the target, and then we have 2 declines there for all students and also for the white population. And then ELA growth, grades 3 to 8. Okay, sorry about that. Science grades 5 to 8. Science is one of the things actually that the district does very well compared to the state and to other schools. You can read, the science, our results for grades 5 and 8. We got declined for the Asian kids. I'm a little bit surprised there. No change for Hispanic, Latino, and the rest met their targets. For all students, we improved below the target. For science grade 9, that's high school, so, there is no SGP, student growth percentile for science. We only have the achievement data. You can see how we have performed as well. So a lot of light greens, which means that we are making progress. There's a solid green for the Asian population, but we are making progress.
Can I point out one thing on here, Doc?
Sure, yes.
So when we're talking about the growth, the one thing that we want to highlight is that the state defines typical growth to be between 40th and 60th percentiles. But in this new accountability system that they've created, they've decided that anything that's below a 50 is considered below target, which to me is a little bit incongruous with the definition. But anyway, following their trend, they're saying, we're looking at these kids, if we look at our ELA growth in grades 3 through 8 for all students, it's 48.4, which is tremendous. It means that our teachers are working with our students and our paraprofessionals are working with our students and making sure that they have what they need to close those gaps. And our kids are growing at rates better than almost half of all of the elementary schools in the state. So to me, that's pretty significant. I just wanted to take a second to make that point.
Absolutely. Dr. Kelly is absolutely correct. Under the old system, the 48.4 would be rounded to, or 49, what is it? I saw 48. I thought I saw 49.9, but, yeah, they would be rounded up to 49, or if it's 49.9 or 0.8, it will be rounded up to 50. So now that's no longer the case. They've been very strict with those point assignments. So the next slide is ELA growth grade, ELA growth, grade 10. So, we are making progress below the target, but we are making progress. You can see that even for our student growth percentile, we went up a little bit compared to last year. Obviously, we have some work to do with our lowest performing students. That's an area, and we also have work to do with our, special education. Our students with, disabilities. So that's an area that obviously we have some work to do, but we are making progress. And then math growth, grades 3 to 8. You can see across the board that we are making progress, slightly below target, but we are still making progress. Math growth, grade 10, the same thing. Progress has been seen. Obviously, there are some areas there that, we can always improve, but we are making progress below the target. There's nothing there that says decline or the 0. So you have 1 0, but, that's for the lowest performing groups, but, progress has been made. Dropout rate for high school, you see a lot of solid green there. That's an area that high school is doing a very good job. They met the target or they exceeded the target. The one subgroup that we have to do a little bit work with is the Hispanic Latino, but the rest, it's solid, it's across the board. They're doing a very good job. The graduation rate for high school, we got decline for Hispanic Latino, and also for the English language learners and also former English language learners, we got decline. But the rest, you can see that we are making progress and we are meeting our target, a little bit below the target, but there are areas, for some high needs. Look at the high needs, for example, we're still making some progress there. And for all students we are below the target. We are still making progress. So after reading all the data, and then you may say, so what? What that means. So we have done a lot of work. This is our 6 weeks of schooling, or 7 weeks of schooling, we have done some work with the principals, and but before going there, I would like to add that the fact that they also added new indicators to the system. The EL proficiency, that's the access scores also are, factored into this new accountability system. We met the target. For grade 3 to 8, and we also made some improvements for our grade 10 students. Chronic absenteeism, that's an area that we need to put a lot of emphasis on, because it's an area that we have to work on, and students with disabilities as well. The chronic absentees for grade 10, as I said, it's something that I have been working, and the district has been working with. We have been working with all principals, but also but a special attention should be devoted to the high school. Advanced coursework, believe me, we have done a lot of work in terms of increasing access for a lot of our minority population, Hispanic. If you go right now, you do a review of the course that we have at the high school, you will see that we have, expanded opportunities for a lot of our Latino kids. But more work needs to be done, and we are not happy where we are. the work continues. So some steps we have taken to address some of the identified gaps. One, which has been already completed, we met with key staff in each individual schools. That includes principals, coaches, reading and math interventionists. We also met with the directors just to give them an overview of the data and also to look for areas where we can improve. Obviously, it's only by working together, by knowing what is in our individual schools and what is in our districts in terms of curriculum alignment, in terms of instruction, in terms of assessment, and so on and so forth, that we can continue to improve. It's all about conversation, dialogue, and see where the problem seems to be and try to address it collaboratively. We also have, this year, we're putting a lot of emphasis on the early warning indicator system. That's something that has been, here for a few years. But this year, the Department of Education wants school districts to really take a close look at the system. It's a system that basically the DEC puts together for all schools, and essentially it tells you how kids are performing in terms of absence, in terms of failing courses, in terms of retention, in terms of whether they are spared, ELA, and so on and so forth. And just this morning, we got a presentation. We got the 2 high school assistant principals that participated in a PD with me and Josh. Other assistant principals also participated from all kind of schools, all different schools. But they put a very clear and very concise and presentation on how to track students, how to monitor students, and design proper intervention to address those students who are really not performing well. So we also, when we met with the principals and directors, we also developed a survey that we sent to all principals, and the survey basically tells them to really tell us what has been done since the day that I met with them, what conversations going on in each individual building, what meetings they had with the coaches, and so on and so forth, what the process they have in place in terms of looking at the data, analyzing the data, doing some data interpretation, and see really what's going on in each individual classrooms. That data will be triangulated. In other words, we will look at the data they're supplying us, and we'll look what the directors are saying, what the coaches are saying, and then see if we are on the same page. Sometimes we are not. Sometimes you need that data to really tell us, because data tells us a lot of stuff. And I also have meetings, around the year, along the year, to check with individual principals how the plans that I have developed, whether those plans are working, make necessary adjustments along the way. The next slide talks about other steps that we have taken to make sure that those gaps are properly addressed. We also have in the works meetings with the PLG facilitators for them to understand the data. They are the ones, the soldiers in the classroom. They are the ones who teach our kids, are in front of our kids every single day. So they need to know what this data is about, because we always tend to believe, and we believe, that we use data to inform instruction. And teachers need to know these things, how kids are performing, what shortcomings in our district, what shortcomings we have in our classrooms, what shortcomings in terms of delivering pedagogy, the formative assessment they use in the classrooms, the summative, are those aligned? These are the types of conversations that we need to keep going in our classrooms. We also, to address the chronic absenteeism, we also met with the Director of Student Information Management System, Jim Sikuz and Scott and others, to really, look, the way we are entering the data and submit to the to Department of Education. The SPED, sure, and also the assistant principals, and so on and so forth. We want to make sure we are on the same page. Let me see, what else can I tell you? Assigning intervention programs for identified students, that's also in the works. So this is what we have so far. This is the presentation we put together, and I hope I was able to convey the information in a way that you all understood it, and the parents who are watching us today also were able to understand. And if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer those questions for you.
Any members have any questions? Ms. Tai?
Well, not really a question, but an observation that at some point in your presentation, what you said was that we have highly educated teachers, and this is the key to our success. Highly educated, extremely well-trained, and extremely hardworking.
Yes.
And I think that when I saw in the Globe that there was a statement about how well Revere is doing, and then they asked the question, how can we get more Reveres? I never thought I would see that. Yeah. And that's because of the hard work and so forth. Yes, we have to work a little harder, but our economically disadvantaged children need a lot more services, and so we need the funds for that.
They do.
And we need the room for that, and so we need a new high school. We need to have a place to put these kids. We need money, and I'm hoping that the powers that be in Boston will see how much we have, and we'll be voting on a resolution of that afterwards. But it's the teachers, it's the paras, it's the people who are in the classroom all the time, the people who feed them, everybody. And it's just great to know how hard they work. And it must be a little disheartening when sometimes it's not quite the success that they hope it will be, but it doesn't seem to be. They just go right back in and keep going. And I applaud them and everybody, from the superintendent all the way down, wherever that leads. People really come in here and service our kids. And that's what makes serving on this school committee a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tai. Mrs. Rizzo?
I just want to say the new accountability, I think, is going to be really great, especially for our district. A lot to learn and a lot to take in, but it's going to be really great. And I did notice on the DESE website that they've offered many resources available to the parents and the guardians on the MCAS parent page, and it's never been user-friendly, but it's getting there. So for people that don't get it, like me, I tend to go there a lot, so a lot of parents, it would be a great help. And thank you, it was a great presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rizzo. Any other members?
Thank you, Dr. Garcia. That was an excellent comprehensive report.
Thank you.
I just want to say, as long as we're talking about accountability, that our work across the district with the Mass Consortium for Innovative Educational Assessment, MCIEA, who you saw students present on here multiple times, continues. And we do, although, the new accountability system might give us some, a little bit more equity compared to our suburban colleagues in different districts, there's still a push to find ways to make assessment and accountability be something that happens as a routine part of learning and not something that interrupts and postpones and stalls learning. And we're continuing to be on the forefront of that work. And we will continue to do that. We'll update you later on our progress with MCIEA later in the year. But thank you again, Dr. Garcia, and I know that the work that you're doing with principals, calling attention to those particular kids who are identified by the state as lower performing, and making sure that we have the safety nets and the additional assistance that those kids require in place will be invaluable to them. So thank you.
Dr. Ray. Okay, Kelly.
The next item on the superintendent's report is an introduction, again, not an introduction because we've talked about it a number of times, but a little bit more information on the new standards-based report card at the elementary level. As just about everybody, I think, knows, we've expanded our standards-based report card through grade 5, where it used to only exist through grade 2. And I do want to just demonstrate that this information is on our website. So if you go to the Revere Public Schools website, and this is a good chance for me to remind everybody that our email addresses have changed from the old mec.edu to revereK12.org. But when you go to the Revere Public Schools website, which is just at www.revereK12.org, and go to the parent information, we do have a new tab called RPS Grades. And if you click on it, it will bring you to a Google file, and I invite, of course, all school committee members to do this as well. And there are a number of research articles about effective grading, some of which have been the impetus for our change here in Revere. But also here is a PowerPoint presentation, which I'm about to share with parents here, but just everybody can look at this at any time that they want. If they want to look back and get further information, they're welcome to do that. You can also get to that information if you don't want to go through the Revere Public Schools website by following this tiny URL. So as we've talked about before, it's really important that we take a look at our grading and assessment as a means to ensure equity for all students in the district. We want to make sure, as we talked about before, that the grade you get in your 10th grade math class doesn't depend on which teacher's classroom you were assigned to by a computer. An A in math should mean an A in math no matter who your teacher is or which school you're in. And so that's some of the work that we've been taking a look at. And so I have just a quick scenario for people to consider why this is important. And in this scenario, we are supposing that there are 3 students named Mercy, Felix, and Antonio, each of whom received a grade of 80 or a B minus on Unit 1, whatever Unit 1 is. And so parents might see this and say, oh, Mercy got an 80, that's pretty good. It's a B minus. There are other parents who would say an 80, well, why is it just an 80? It should be higher than that. And depending on what experience Mercy has had in the past, he or she might think that this is a good grade or not a good grade. The point is that the 80 doesn't give a whole lot of information about how to make the grade higher than an 80, or why it was an 80, or any of those pieces that are involved. Now, if instead we gave you this information about Mercy, Felix, and Antonio, I would posit that these kids would understand better where their strengths are, where they might need a little bit of support, and their parents would have that information as well. I think that if I were Antonio's parent, I'd want to work with him on his speaking and listening skills. And if I were Felix's teacher, I'd want to focus a little bit more on writing with Felix than I've been on speaking and listening. So when we break grades apart and really look at what their component parts are, we set kids and their parents in a position where they can be more successful at school. And that is going to help them be more successful at life. So we've been looking a lot at these ideas as a school district, and we've also been trying to make sure that the grades that we give kids are representative of what they know on that topic and not necessarily who they are as citizens of a classroom. And the example I've given of that before is if we look at a student who gets a B in math, it might be because they got roughly all 80s on their tests and quizzes and homeworks and classworks and everything else that goes on. Or it might be that that student had 100 on every test and quiz, but was a little bit of a nudge, so got a 0 for being disruptive in class, and didn't do his homework, so got a couple zeros for not doing his homework. That's important information for parents to have, but it's different than the description of how highly accomplished that child is in a math class. And those are 2 different things that we should be reporting to parents. And so we're moving into a direction where those are 2 different things that we're reporting to parents. So at the elementary level, our focus is on expanding the progress, the standards-based report card, where we're talking about mastery, progress, developing, or beginning performance on different standards. And I'll show you an example of that in just a minute. But mastery means this child has this standard down. They can do it consistently and on their own without assistance from the teacher. Progress means they're not quite there yet, but they're getting there, and they're exactly where we would expect them to be at this point in the year. They might not have mastered that standard because we haven't covered it all yet. Developing means that there's some growth, but there's more work to do. So that's a guideline for parents to say, here's some place that I can focus my energy. Beginning means that the work is just emerging, and there's a lot of work needed in that area. And at the beginning of the school year, we wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of beginnings on a report card because we're just getting started with the work. If we're in June and your child is coming home with a report card full of beginnings, then we need to have a conversation. And quite frankly, the school will have been in touch with you long before that, because there will have been signs along the way that there are things that need to come into play. And some standards won't be evaluated all year long. Some aren't evaluated in the beginning of the year. So that's what the NE grade means. So what this might look like at a snapshot of a student's report card, these are standards for math for grade 3. And you can see that in the first trimester, this student, in terms of to represent and solve problems involving multiplication within 100, that skill was developing. In second trimester, it moved to mastering. That's what we would expect to happen. We would expect in trimester 3 it was going to stay there. If it regressed, then we'd take another look at that. Solve problems involving the 4 basic operations, that's addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and identify and explain patterns in arithmetic. Trimester 1, that skill was at the beginning stages. In trimester 2, it's developing, so I know there's still some work to do. If I'm a parent who sees this on my child's report card, then when we're driving to hockey practice, I might be saying to my child, 3, 6, 9, 12, what's the pattern? What numbers am I talking about? So these are ways that we're hoping these are going to help parents help their kids to achieve at higher levels across the board by talking specifically about what kids know and where they need some support. Separately, we're going to be reporting to parents on students' social and academic skills. And these skills are going to be rated a 4 if the student is consistently demonstrating the skill, 3 if they demonstrate that skill most of the time, 2 if it's some of the time, and 1 if we really need to work on that skill. And at the elementary level, we are looking at, for social skills, observing class and school rules, takes responsibility for choices and actions, demonstrates self-control, treats teachers and other adults respectfully. These are all important things and things that parents need to work with their kids on, but they don't belong in the math grade. They belong separate from the math grade. And then the academic skills follow a similar trend. Is this child following directions? Do they work independently? Are they able to work cooperatively in a small group? Because that's as important as being able to work alone, as we know in emerging society and how work patterns go these days. Beginning and finishing work on time, is prepared for class, and demonstrates consistent effort. This will really help parents, we think, pinpoint where their kids might need some support and some intervention. So our plans for this year are to continue this work. Our grading practices subcommittee, as the school committee knows, is in their 3rd year of work. They were formed in 2016. This is their 3rd year of practice, and our goals for this year are to implement these standards-based report cards through grade 5. This is a pilot year for that work. We anticipate that we're going to uncover some problems, hit some roadblocks, find some bumps, and refine the process as the year goes on, so that what we see in trimester 3 in terms of reports to parents might be a little bit different than you see in December, because we will have learned and taken feedback from parents and refined the process in that time. In grades 6 and 9, we are piloting habits of work documents, which are similar to those social and academic skills that we just talked about for the elementary level, but they're a little bit more in depth. I'll show you what they look like in just a second. All educators are engaged in professional development on grading practices this year, and we will be seeking feedback from teachers, caretakers, and students to make necessary changes as we move down this path. So in terms of the middle school work, get back to my right folder here. This is what the middle school, oh boy. Let me see if I hit the download. Okay. And I'm just going to show this quickly. I know it's a little bit hard to see because the font is small, but we use a little bit higher level language here for the middle school kids than we would for elementary, naturally. And this is worded for students to self-grade how they're doing on their habits of work. So periodically, kids will complete this form where they grade themselves. Now, these are grades 6th grade that we're piloting this in. I arrive on time and with organized class materials, and they can rate themselves outstanding, satisfactory, needs improvement, or unsatisfactory. I complete and request work consistently and in a timely manner at the teacher's discretion. I use my time efficiently and appropriately. So we're at the point where we want the kids to start developing and self-monitoring their ability to be good students. There's the category for respect. I demonstrate empathy and kindness towards all people. I demonstrate respect in verbal and nonverbal communication, listening skills, and personal space. I respect the physical learning space of the school, and on and on. For the high school, let's see, yeah, high school. Oh, boy. I wish one of those first graders was still here to show me what's going on. It looks like it's not going to open. I'll get that for you at a later meeting, but the point is that they upgrade the language a little bit more to even more sophistication to be appropriate for the age of kids at high school level compared to. And that document's being piloted in 9th grade this year. So parents can expect to see, along with the traditional report card at grade 6 and grade 9, these habits of work reports as well. And teachers will be grading kids out on those different pieces. They can also ask their children about them now and say, how are you doing on your self-assessment for your habits of work? So that is it on grading, if anybody.
Mrs. Rizzo.
I'm making everything faster so that we can watch the baseball game. No, I'm sorry, Mr. Moscow. Yeah. Report cards, many of the parents were saying how much they did like the new program for the report cards, but if you had some questions, not concerns, but just questions on, let's say one of our 5th grade students are going on to a private school, which would make me sad, but if they're going on next year, how will these schools compare our students' grading with others being considered for admission?
I can't imagine that they're treated any differently. We're certainly not the only school that's doing this kind of work. In fact, it's a lot more of the private schools that tend to grade kids using these standards-based rubrics and using performance standards the way that we are starting to do now. So I think that some of the private schools will be familiar with this kind of grading. And those who aren't, I think they're going to look at the report card and have a much deeper understanding of who this child is coming before them than if we just gave them a sheet that said math B, English C+, science B-. So it'll be helpful. And of course, we'd be happy, as we always are. We don't want to see any kids leave us either. But we always collaborate with our colleagues in other schools, whether they're private or public, to make sure that each child has what they need academically. So,
And can we put the presentation up on the website for parents who didn't attend?
It is, that's the link that I
Ah.
showed initially. So if we go, if anybody.
Maybe I should pay attention.
Yeah, if you go to the Revere Public Schools website and click on parents, there's a listing that says RPS grades, and there's a whole folder. It includes the presentation and other literature parents might be interested in with research on effective grading practices.
Any other members? Any questions?
And that concludes the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Dr. Kelly. The next item on our agenda, Dr. Kelly. go ahead.
No, go ahead. I want to
Good.
introduce.
Okay. The next item on our agenda is a student representative report, and I'll let Dr. Kelly introduce our student rep.
Thank you. So this is, we're honored to have Waleed Sukaki here with us tonight. He is the new student representative from Revere High School to the school committee. And he's an excellent, excellent, excellent member of this board. Waleed, you'll recall, wasn't able to make it in September, so this is his first board meeting. He is a phenomenal student. He's been with us for a very long time. I got to talk to Waleed a little bit this morning about what his plans are going forward, and he told me that he's a Questbridge finalist, which I didn't realize. What that means is that he is a candidate for a 4-year scholarship to one of 8 Ivy League institutions. So currently, he is applied at Brown, Dartmouth, Columbia, MIT, and Tufts. He has interviews with Columbia, MIT, and Tufts already scheduled. He is a member of the Revere High School football team and is president of the Student Senate. He's actually one of the founding members 4 years ago when Dr. Garcia, then principal at the high school, and a group of students got together and decided they wanted to form a Student Senate. Waleed was one of those founding members, and this year he is the president of that group. He's also active in the Model UN program, and when he's not in school, he's taking care of his little brother or learning as much as he can, whenever he can, wherever he can, about engineering, which is what he intends to do. And he did promise me, we didn't have a pinky swear, but he did promise that when he finishes college, he's going to come back to the city of Revere and help us educate the next generation of kids like him. So, with that, I will pass the mic over to Waleed for his report.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kelly. I just wanted to say thank you for everyone that showed up today. It means a lot. First off, I just wanted to say that the Revere High School football team has made the playoffs, MIA playoffs. We will be playing North Reading as the 6th seed this Friday. Hope to see you guys there. Additionally, it's been a really impressive season for all fall sports. The RHS volleyball team and the boys soccer team also made their respective tournaments, and the RHS girls soccer team also needs one more win to qualify. They play tomorrow against Everett. And one final thing is that as part of Revere, as a student at Revere High School, we're trying to get more work with parents and more younger students, and there will be a school improvement meeting open to all parents and students from the high school in the East Wing Conference Room from 3 to 4 on November 14th, and this will work with the principals and all the principals, assistant principals, and deputy assistant principal of Revere High School to work together to see what we want to go on going forward this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Waleed. Any questions? Mrs. Rizzo.
Sorry. No, I wanted to say, I had the pleasure of going to a leadership program in May with Waleed, Sarah, and Gabriella.
Yeah.
And I'm not surprised seeing him sit here, and also knowing him as a younger person. He has grown up to this magnificent man.
Thank you.
And we just look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
It's truly a pleasure.
Thank you, Mrs. Rizzo. Any other members? All right. Welcome aboard, Waleed. The next item on our agenda is public participation. Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent calendar.
Move to accept.
Roll call.
Mr. Ferrante?
Yes.
Ms. Gravellese,
Yes.
Mr. Ruizzo,
Yes.
Mr. Sanella,
Yes.
Ms. Ty,
Yes.
Mr. Visconti,
Yes.
Mayor Arrigo.
Yes. All right. Move to report of subcommittees. Mrs. Rizzo?
I have a few. I'll talk fast. Policy Subcommittee met yesterday, 10/22, and we are recommending a detailed policy regarding distribution of literature. And the next meeting will take place on October 30th. So I am requesting a motion to build a policy based on distribution of literature.
A motion, second. All in favor, all opposed?
Aye.
So moved.
As part of the Committee of Health and Special Ed, I just want to report out, I go to the Shore Collaborative Board meetings on Tuesdays each month, and as of October, we have 38 students from our district that attend there. It's 18 communities with 180 students in all. We did sign a lease for 201 Crescent Ave in Chelsea. Also, like Revere, there's a lot of overcrowding at Shore Collaborative, so this will help divide the adult services with the younger students. And also that an audit was done last month with very positive feedback and full report in November. Also, on the Health and Wellness Committee, and I'm just going to bring up things that pertain directly to our schools, but there's many great things going on. There's the box program, which is before-school fitness activity. It's held at Garfield Elementary, Paul Revere, Beachmont, Lincoln, Hill, and the Rumney Marsh. It is, most of the educators said they have great feedback. They have a lot of students participating, and I'm just impressed. It's all before school, and they're coming in to do some fitness. Also, at the Garfield Complex, the sidewalks and paths coming to the school from the neighborhoods are 90% complete from the state, which is a good thing. And also Cheryl Cole, is it something I said? Cheryl Cole from Aramark in our food service program said the breakfast program is up over 300 new students for breakfast. So that's a good thing. And also at Lincoln School, April Feeney, our physical educator, and I try to use the right words because Mr. Moscow was here. Must have been something I said. But she started doing the Boston versus Bullies program for the 5th grade. Each principal sent a faculty member to the workshop, so hopefully more will jump in on it, and it's a free program. So that would be it for me, for now.
Thank you, Ms. Rizzo. We'll move on to old business. Seeing none. New business, Mr. Ferranti?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to read the resolution in support of full funding for our public schools. Whereas the free public schools available to all students without exception are foundational to our democracy and are required by state constitution, and whereas all of our students, no matter where they live, deserve a high-quality public schools that teach the whole child and provide them with a rich school experience that addresses their academic, social, and emotional needs. Whereas the state foundation budget formula, which determines state aid to each district, has been woefully out of date for years, thereby underfunding our districts by more than $1 billion a year for essential education services. And whereas an updated foundation budget formula would bring Revere up to $18 million in additional state aid each year, allowing the district to move closer to providing all students with the education to which they are entitled to as residents of the Commonwealth. And whereas the legislature failed to pass any foundation budget legislation in the last session, leaving districts, educators, and students without funds necessary to support schools our students deserve every district in the state. Therefore, be it resolved that the Revere School Committee urges the legislature to approve and fully fund the new foundation budget formula by May 1st, 2019. So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Ferrante?
Yes.
Ms. Gravellisi?
Yes.
Mr. Rizzo?
Yes.
Mr. Sinella?
Yes.
Ms. Ty?
Yes.
Mr. Visconti?
Yes.
Mayor Rodriguez?
Yes. Resolution's approved. Ms. Franti?
Okay, next one's appropriation of additional carry-forward funds. We have a letter from Matthew Cruz, CFO. Please request that the school committee vote to approve a reduction in school department F-19 appropriations at their October 23rd meeting due to the transition relief funding from the state coming in $605,648 less than expected. Transitional relief was expected to be $2.5 million, but was actually only $1,894,352. So moved.
Roll call.
Mr. Ferrante?
Yes.
Ms. Gravellisi?
Yes.
Mrs. Rizzo?
Yes.
Mr. Sinella?
Yes.
Ms. Ty?
Yes.
Ms. Visconti?
Yes.
Mayor Rodriguez?
Yes. The appropriation is passed.
Want me? Yeah. One second. We have a letter from the city auditor, Richard Viscay, showing where the difference was. And basically, the money, there was like $92,000 to Title II money for Polyvare classroom teachers. The Rumney Mesh classroom teachers, a reduction of $83,424. There was a grant reduction anticipation of $308,161, and a curriculum director reduction of $121,186. Director's allocation of Title IIA. That creates the reduction of $605,648.
Any other members? No? Okay, we'll move on to school committee interests. Ms. Ty?
I have two things. First, many people probably know Morris, senior citizen who was very active in services for veterans, particularly World War II veterans. And he so admired the success that we had that he approached me and said that he would like to make a contribution to the school system. And he thought I'd like to make it where it was needed most. And so he wrote out this check and asked me to give it to, well, he said to the kids who need it the most, so we gave it to CPAC. So, just, he is someone who volunteered in World War II as a kid of 17. Because he could speak Yiddish, he was sent to Germany. He saw many horrors on the camps that were there. He helped people settle in, and still he has remained one of the most optimistic people I know. And he's very proud to be a citizen of Revere and proud of the Revere Public Schools.
We will send him a thank you letter, but please, if you see him, extend our thanks.
I certainly
on our
will.
behalf.
Thank you. I have another point. Election time is here, and there are going to be 3 questions on the ballot, and I'd like to speak to question 3. And urge that the folks out there vote yes on question 3. It is a reaffirmation of our mission that we treat all of our kids equally, everyone. I know that on the national level, there is a movement to try to deprive transgender people of their rights, and it's probably, it may go through. But in Massachusetts, we have always been a state that says from the very beginning that we treat everyone equally, and especially in the Revere Public Schools, we are determined that all of our children will come to school, feel wanted and safe. And a vote yes on 3 will, let me just read this bit, will prohibit discrimination on the basis of gender identity in places of public accommodation. So I urge everyone to vote yes on question 3. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ty. Any other members? Mrs. Rizzo?
Speaking of CPAC, I just want to remind everyone that they'll be doing their Halloween party on Monday. And that would be at 5:45 at the rec center, and they're always having a great time. I don't know how they do it. They must be exhausted when they go home, but they do a tremendous job. Also, I want to say on October 9th, I was honored to attend the meeting with the MSBA. They have great poker faces. You really don't know what they're thinking. But they were all in agreement that Revere High School is in need of a new school. But they have visited 69 schools throughout Massachusetts, and there'll only be about 14 to 50 schools chosen to be invited into it. One member said that she believes Revere is the next best thing as Cambridge and Somerville, but we also do it with a lot less. So, and then Dr. Kelly responded with, we do it with a lot less, but we don't want to do with less anymore for our students and staff because they deserve more. So it was a very interesting tour. Being a parent here with 3 sons and then being on the school committee for 10 years, I was amazed at some of the things I saw. Some great things and some things in real disrepair. So our fingers are crossed, and it will be, I'll pray. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Mrs. Rizzo. Any other members? All right, we'll move on to motions. Mr. Ferranti?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to read the late communication first, then I'll read the motions. Okay. I have a late communication from Dr. Diane Kelly. It's regarding the Staff Sergeant James J. School. It's an invoice from Cassandra Sign Company. It's a signage at the Hill School. The amount of money is $2,990. So moved.
Second?
All in favor, all opposed? Aye. Aye. So moved.
Okay, under motions, the first one is the approval of the MOA with the Revere Federation of Paraprofessionals. We had several meetings to work this contract out, which we did. I'm just going to really go through the highlights because I really don't think anybody wants to say to me read this whole thing. Basically, Article 8 working conditions was just a change of language. The transfer and vacancies started to post jobs on site and use Revere Public School websites. Leave of absence. Military leave looks like the same. The sick leave buyback went from 150 to 200 days. Longevity was increased for every 5 years from 500 to 1,500. We also added a degree stipend for $700 as long as people have been with us for at least 9 months or have an associate's or bachelor's degree before June 1st. There will also be a $400 payment if they have at least 48 credits. Academic proficiency was applicant with an associate's degree of 48 post-secondary credits. An agency service fee was deleted. The duration of the contract started August 10, 2018 through August 9, 2021. The salary increase was, the first year was 2.5, the second year is 3.0, the third year was 2.25. So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Ferranti?
Yes.
Ms. Gravellese?
Yes.
Mrs. Rizzo?
Yes.
Mr. Sinella?
Yes.
Ms. Ty?
Yes.
Mr. Visconti?
Yes.
Mayor Arrigo?
Yes. Motion's passed. Mr. Franti?
Right now, we have a motion from Mrs. Rizzo. The motion requests that the superintendent and perhaps with the RPD, along with the RFD, to look into the feasibility of having ALICE training for all staff members. So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Ferranti.
Mrs. Rizzo?
So my hopes are to raise the bar in school security. It's something the staff can do online. It's not meant to replace our hold-in-place or our lockdown procedures, but to have an additional piece of training that gives staff more options on top of the standards, and just continuing to do what's best for our school community. But I will also say, if someone wants to refer this to maybe the Safety Committee, I have no objections with that either.
Second?
All in favor, all opposed?
Aye.
Aye. That matter will be referred to the Safety Subcommittee. Any other members have any other comments, questions? Seeing none, motion to adjourn.
So move, go Red Sox.
We will adjourn until November 20th, and go Red Sox.